Hello everyone, my name is Chandra Prakash Bhaguna and today I want to discuss an interview in a company called NeoSoft and this was the and I want to discuss today the first round and the client round of that interview. So the company name is NeoSoft and the company location is Mumbai and the interview date was the May 19, 2025. So they asked me, why do we need interface? So interface specify what method a class must implement, ensuring consistent behavior across different implementation. Enable loose coupling. Code depends on abstraction, that is interfaces, rather than the concrete classes, making the system more flexible and easier to maintain or extend. Support multiple implementation. Different classes can implement the same interface in their own way, allowing easy swapping without changing client code. Improve testability. Interfaces make it easier to create mock objects during unit testing, facilitating better test coverage and isolated tests. Enhance code organization and readability. So they clarify design intentions and help teams follow consistent coding standards. Example to explain why interfaces are useful. So imagine you have a notification system. Instead of writing your code directly for email notification, you define an interface. So interface notifier, public function, send $message. Then create multiple classes implementing it. Class email notifier implements notifier, public function send $message, and then send email. Another class SMS notifier implements notifier. So public function send $message. This is for the send SMS. Your main code depends on the notifier interface, not on the specific classes. So function notify user, notifier $message, $notifier send $MSG. So this way you can swap email with the SMS or add new notifier easily without changing notify user. So why is this important? Makes code flexible and extendable, easy to maintain and test, and promotes clean architecture and solid principles. They asked me the exceptional handling in PHP and I told about that the try catch and try catch block. Okay, so the third question they asked me, traits in PHP. So PHP does not support multiple inheritance directly because a class in PHP can inherit from only one parent class. So these restrictions avoids the complexities and ambiguities of the diamond problem, which can occur in the multiple inheritance scenarios. So for example, trait logger, public function log $message, echo log $message. Another trait notifier, public function notify $message, echo notification $message. Now class user, use logger notifier, public function create user $name, echo user $name created. This log create user $name, this notify user $name has been added. Now create one object $user equal to new user and user create user Alice. So the output will be the user Alice created, log created user Alice, and the notification user Alice has been added. Question number 4, they ask me magic constants in PHP. So generally there are 8 magic constants. So PHP provides several built-in constants that change depending on where they are used. So they are known as the magic constants. So the magic constants and the descriptions. So first of all, we declare it like double underscore in the prefix and double underscore in the suffix. So there are generally 8 magic constants. First is the line, current line number in the file, full path and file name of the file, dir, directory of the file, function name, class name, trait name, method, class method name, and namespace, current namespace. So a magic constant in PHP is a special built-in constant that automatically gives information about the script like file name, line number, and function name, etc. So it starts with the double underscore and change its value depending on where it is used. So here is a simple PHP script from the scratch that demonstrates the use of the magic constants. So PHP, and inside that you have one function display magic constants, and echo function name, function, echo line number line, and echo file path file, echo directory, and then call this function display magic constants. So the output will be the, first of all it will return the function name display magic constants, then line number 5, then file path like cgem stdocs test neosoft.php, and directory cgem stdocs and test. Fifth question, they asked me authentication and authorization. So authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a user. Okay, so this is mainly for the identity of the user. So it checks who the user is. So steps for authentication: login. A user provides their credentials like the username and password. Verification: the system checks if the provided credential match stored credential in a database or third-party authentication service. Token generation: this is the optional. Upon successful login, a system may generate a token, that is JWT, to maintain the session or facilitate API access. For example, a user logs in using their username and password. The system verifies the credentials and grants access if the information is correct. Example in Laravel: auth attempts, email request email, password request password. Second is the authorization. So authorization is the process of determining what the user can do after they are authenticated. It controls the permission and access level assigned to the user. So steps of authorization: permission checks. After authentication, the system checks if the authenticated user has permission to perform a specific action. For example, view a page, modify a resource, etc. Roles and permission. In many systems, roles, example admin, editor, user, define which action are allowed. So permission specifies the specific action, for example create, delete, and edit, that a user can perform. Example, a user may be authenticated but they might not be authorized to view their own profile, not other users' profile. So a manager role may allow for editing posts, while a guest role may only allow viewing. So example in Laravel: if auth user can edit post $post, then perform the action. So the summary for the authentication and authorization. So there is a small table. So definition: authentication, verify who the user is. Authorization, determine what the user can do. Focus: authentication, identify login credentials. Authorization, permission, roles, abilities. Goal: authentication ensures the user is who they claim to be. Authorization ensures that the user has the right to access resources or perform actions. Example: authentication, user logging in with the username password. Authorization, user being assigned roles like the admin, editor, etc. So the practical use: In a typical web app, authentication would occur first. Example, logging in. And authorization would follow to ensure that the authenticated user has the correct permission to access the specific resources. So question number, they asked me hooks. So in CodeIgniter 4, event in CodeIgniter 4 are trigger action that execute custom code for specific points in the application's lifecycle, like before or after a controller runs. They help in login, authentication, and performance monitoring without modifying core files. So events in CodeIgniter 4 are like triggers that let you run specific code at a precise moment, like before a page loads, after a user logs in, without changing the original code. Think of them as alarm you set to perform task automatically when something happens. So simple analogy, imagine your app is a pizza delivery and event is like saying when the oven timer rings, that events automatically send a text to the customer your custom code. Example to remember, scenario, show a user under maintenance page before any page loads. So define the events on pre-controller function. If config app maintenance mode, redirect to maintenance. How it works? When someone tries to visit your site, CodeIgniter checks the event before loading any page. So if maintenance mode is true, it redirects to the maintenance page. Key trigger points easy to recall. Pre-system, before the app starts. Pre-controller, before a page controller loads. Post-controller, after a page finish loading. So the remember, events do this when that happens. So for example, inside the htdocs, you have one project event, localhost event demo auth and register, and another localhost event demo auth and login. So then check in register a user, localhost :8080 auth register, login localhost :8080 auth login. So check logs, database table logins logs, and log file writable logs. So 8080 when using PHP Spark serve. Otherwise localhost event demo auth register and localhost event demo auth login. Conclusion, added authentication, that is register login, used hooks to log login attempts, stored login attempt in the database. Question number 7, helpers and libraries. So helpers are ready-made function to help you perform simple tasks quickly, like creating links, forms, or handling files. How to use a helper? First, load a helper. Tell CodeIgniter which helper you want to use. So this load helper URL. So this will load the helper. Second, use helper function. So after loading, just call the helper function. Example, using base URL from the URL helper and echo base URL about. So the output will be the yourwebsite.com/about. So common helper example, URL helper helps create links and manage URLs. So this load helper URL and echo base URL home. Second, form helper helps make form faster. This load helper form, echo form open user/submit, echo form input username, and echo form close. Third, text helper, shorten long text. So this load helper text, echo word limiter, this is very long sentence, and in the after comma you can write the 3. So the output will be the this is a, so there would be only 3 terms. Auto loading helpers, to always load a helper automatically, edit like the application config autoload.php and add the helper's name. Autoload helper equal to URL and form. So helpers are just a tool to make coding faster and easier. So how to load a helpers in CodeIgniter? So load a single helpers. Use load helper in your controller or model. and this load helper URL. So now you can use the helper function like echo base underscore URL about. So your URL and then slash about. Second, load multiple helpers. So this load helper in the bracket URL and form. Third, auto load helpers. If you want to helpers to always load automatically, first open application /config /autoload.php. Second, find the section autoload helpers equal to null. Add your helpers autoload helper equal to URL and form. So this will load the helper every time the application runs. So that's it. Helpers make your task faster and the easier. So how to declare helpers? So step to create user a custom file. Create a helper file. So navigate to application helpers. Create a new file. For example, myhelper.php, and ensures the file name ends with the underscore helpers.php. So write function in the helper. So inside myhelper.php, define your custom function. If not function exists, greet user. So function greet user $name, return hello UC first $name. Load the helper in your controller or model. This load helper, and inside that my, and now you can use the greet user function like this, echo greet user and in the bracket John. So the output will be the hello John. Auto load the helper, that is optional. Open application /config /autoload.php and autoload helper equal to my. So key points, always use if not function exist function name to avoid conflicts. So helper files should not contain classes, only functions. Second is libraries. So definition, libraries are object-oriented classes that offer more advanced functionality like session, email for validation, etc. Nature, object-oriented classes. So now how to load? This load library session. So load session library. Usage, this load set user data name John. So echo this session user data name. So the example libraries in the CodeIgniter, session, email, pagination and form validation. So use when you need structured, reusable and stateful component with method and the properties. So quick comparison between the helpers and the libraries. So helpers are the procedural function and libraries are object oriented classes. Helpers functions only, libraries classes with methods. Helpers this load helper and library this load library. Helpers base underscore URL, library this session user data. Helpers simple task, library complex reusable functionality. Question number 8, they ask me routes. So routes defines how URLs maps to the controller and action. So for example, example.com /controller /method and then parameter. So example.com /products /view /123. So this maps to controller is products, method is views and the parameter is 123. So types of routes, static routes, fixed URL pattern. For example, routes get home :index. So this maps to the home controller's index method. Second is the dynamic routes. So variable URL patterns with parameter. So for example, $routes get product /:num product :detail /$1. This is the dynamic parameter, that is number. Third is the custom routes, defined using regular expression. So example, $routes add in the bracket product /0 to 9 and 4 and products :details /$1. So matches 4-digit numbers. Question number 9, last 10th highest salary in MySQL. So I have to write a query for that. So select distinct salary from employees, order by salary, disk limit 1 offset 9, or select distinct salary from employees, order by salary, disk limit 9 and comma 1. Okay. So the explanation, distinct salary. So ensures duplicate salaries are not counted multiple times. Order by salary disk, short salaries from highest to lowest, and limit 9 comma 1 means skips the top 9 salaries and gives the 10th one, that is zero based index. Question number 10, they asked me INNODB and MyISAM in MySQL. So here is a simplified breakdown of your 4 MySQL storage engines. First is the INNODB. So this is best for the application needing transactions, data integrity and high concurrency. So the key features are support transactions, that is reliable data handling. Second, supports foreign key, relationship between tables, and usage row level locking, better performance when multiple users are accessing the data, and crash recovery to prevent data loss. Second is the ISAM, indexed sequential access method. So this is best for the older system with the simple read heavy applications. So key features are no transactions, less reliable for complex operations, no foreign keys, no relationship between tables, table level locking, slower if multiple users are accessing data at the same time, obsolete and not commonly used anymore. Heap, this is a memory storage engine, best for temporarily fast data storage, example for caching or intermediate operations. So key features are in memory storage extremely fast, data disappears when the server restarts, no persistent data is lost when the system shuts down, and ideal for the temporary data that doesn't need to be saved. Fourth is the MyISAM. So this is the best for the read heavy application that don't require the transactions. So key features are no transactions, so no guarantee for data consistency, table level locking, slower if many users access the table at once, supports full text indexing, useful for the searching texts, and faster for the read operations but not ideal for the concurrent writes. So the summary, INNODB best for the application needing transaction and data safety. ISAM old engine, no transaction, no relationships, rarely used today. Heap, fast temporarily in memory storage for the quick operations. And MyISAM, good for the read heavy application but lacks support for the transaction. Question number 11, product table and 2 tables, product name and category name, find out total category using MySQL query. Total category using MySQL. So let us suppose you have one table called products. So create table products, ID int auto increment primary key, product name varchar 100 and category name varchar 100. Insert into products, product name and category name values, laptop electronics, smartphone electronics, t-shirts clothing, jeans clothing, blender home appliance, microwave home appliance, books, notebook stationery, pen stationery, and sneakers footwear. So select count distinct category name as total categories from products. So this is a query for this. Question number 12, they ask me life cycle of CodeIgniter. So first of all, index.php is loaded, the starting point of the application. It sets up path and environment settings, then routing. The request is passed to the router, which checks the URL and decides which controller to run. Then controller is called. The controller is the main handler. It receives the request, talks to the model if needed, and decides what to show. Then model, that is the optional. If the controller needs to get data from a database, it uses the model. Then view is loaded. The controller loads a view to show the final output like the HTML. And response is sent to the browser. So the final result from the view is sent back to the user's browser. So if we can recall the simple view, index.php, then router, then controller, then model, then view, then browser. So the summary, CodeIgniter processes a request starting from index.php routes it to the correct controller, use models to fetch data, sends it to the views, and finally display the results. So, and question number 13, they ask me get put patch request in APIs. So a get request is one of the most commonly used HTTP methods used to retrieve data from a server via an API, that is the application programming interface. So when a client like Postman, a browser or a front-end application sends a GET request to an API endpoints, it asks the server to return specific resources or information such as user details, product lists, or settings. So GET requests are read-only operations and do not modify any data on the server. Second is a POST request. So POST request is used to send data to an API to create something new on the server. For example, you use POST to add a new user, submit a form, or upload a file. Third is a PUT request. A PUT request is used to update existing data on the server. So it usually replaces the entire resource with new data. 4 is the patch request. A patch request is used to partially update existing data on the server. Unlike PUT, it only changes the specific field you send. 5th is the delete request. A delete request is used to remove data from the server. It deletes a specific resource like a user or a record permanently. Question number 14, they ask me .htaccess file. So .htaccess file is created in order to enable extra features for that subdirectory. You can use the .htaccess file to modify various configuration and thus make changes to your website. So these changes include authorization, error handling, redirects for a specific URL, user permission, etc. So htaccess is a configuration file used on the Apache web server. It allows you to control the behavior of a website or web directory without changing the main server settings. So the file is placed in a specific directory and the rules inside apply to that directory and its subdirectory. So what can .htaccess do? Redirect URLs, like sending old page to new URLs. Rewrite URLs, make URLs look cleaner or friendlier. Set up custom error page, like for not found page. Control access, password protected folders. Block IPs. Enable or disable features like gzip compression. Manage caching for better performance. Example, redirect old .html to new page.html. Redirect 301 old page.html to new page.html. So custom 404 error page, error document 404 /404.html. So why .htaccess is useful? So you can change website settings easily without needing to edit the server configuration or restart the server. It gives more control to website owners or developers or shared hosting where server access is limited. Question number 15, index. So an index in MySQL is a database structure that improves the speed of data retrieval operation on a table at the cost of the additional storage and maintenance overhead. It works similarly to the index of a book, allowing MySQL to find rows much faster without scanning the entire table. Type of index in MySQL, primary key index. Unique identifier for each row automatically create when you define a primary key. So create table users, ID int primary key and name varchar 50. Second is a unique index, ensures all values in column are unique. So create unique index IDX email on user's email. Third, regular non-unique index, speeds up queries for columns with the duplicate values. So create index IDX name on user's name. Fourth is the full text index for full text search in large text fields, char varchar text, only supported on INNODB or MyISAM. So create full text index IDX description on the article description. Fifth is the composite index. So index based on the multiple columns. So create index IDX name email on user's name email. Sixth is the special index. So used for the geospatial data. How to use indexes? Create an index. Create index IDX column on table name, column name. Drop an index. Drop index IDX column on table name. View existing indexes. Show index from table name. So benefits of using indexes: faster data retrieval, improve performance of select, join and where queries. So the limitations are slower insert, update and delete operations, increased storage requirement. So how many index can be built if we have a 16 fields? So general limits for MySQL INODB: maximum number of indexes per table is 64, maximum number of columns in composite index are 16 columns, and maximum key length is 3072 bytes for INODB. So given scenario of 16 fields. So given 16 fields, the theoretical combinations are single columns index. You can create 16 unique single column indexes. Composite indexes, you can combine up to 16 columns in each index but are still limited to 64 total indexes. So example index combination: single column indexes. So create index IDX field 1 on table underscore name field 1. So create index IDX underscore field 2 on table name field 2. This gives 16 simple indexes. Second, composite index example: create index IDX composite 1 on table name field 1 comma field 2. Create index IDX underscore composite 2 on table name field 3 field 4. So here is how to create a table with 16 fields and add indexes in MySQL. So step 1, create the table. So create table, example table, field 1 int, field 2 int and up to field 16 blob. Second, create 16 single column index. So create index IDX field 1 on example underscore table field 1 and up to create index IDX field 16 on example underscore table field 1600 blob require length. Question number 16. Question number 16, they ask me triggers. So a trigger is a code association with insert, update and delete operations, that is IUD. Triggers. A trigger is a stored procedure in a database which automatically invokes whenever a special event in the database occurs. For example, a trigger can be invoked when a row is inserted into a specific table or when certain table columns are being updated. Let's create a very simple example to demonstrate how a MySQL trigger works. We'll create two tables. So user, a table to store user data, user log, a table to log any update made to the users table. The users table stores user ID, username and email. So the user log table stores logs about email changes, specifically the user ID, old and new email values and the timestamp when the changes was made. When the changes were made. Step 2, create a trigger. So now we'll create a before update trigger that will log any changes to the email field in the user table. So create the trigger, delimiter, create trigger before user update, before update on users, and for each row begin. Checks if the email is being updated. If old.email not equal to new.email, then insert into user log user ID, old email, new email. Values old.user ID, old.email and new.email. And then end if and then end the delimiter. So this before update trigger will fire before any update to the users table. So if the email is changed, the old email is different from the new email, the trigger will log the old and the new email value into the user underscore log table. Step 3, perform an update. So Let's update a user's email in users table. The trigger will automatically log the changes in the user underscore log table. So insert a sample user. So insert into users, username email, value John Doe, john@example.com. Update the user's email. This will trigger the logging in the user log table. Update user set email equal to johndoe@example.com when user ID equal to 1. Checks the logs. After performing the update, you can check the user log table to see the log of the email change. So select star from user log. You should see an entry in the user log table like this: log ID, user ID, old email, new email, and updated. So log ID is 1, user ID is 1, old email is john@example.com, new email is john.doe@example.com, and updated. So this will show the current timestamp. So the summary is, we created two simple tables, users and user log. We created a trigger that logs any changes to the email fields in the user table into the user log table. The trigger automatically fired when the email was updated and the changes was logged in the user underscore log. So question number 17, transactions. In SQL, a transaction is a set of operations that are executed as a single unit. These operations can include multiple SQL statements such as the insert, update, or delete. Transaction ensures that the database maintains its integrity and consistency according to the ACID property, that is the atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. So the basic transaction command: start transaction, initiator transactions, commit saves all changes made during the transactions to the database, rollback undoes all changes made during the transactions, returning the database to its state before the transaction began. So basic SQL transaction example: start transaction, perform some operation. So update account, set balance equal to balance minus 100 where account ID equal to 1. Update account, set balance equal to balance plus 100 where account ID equal to 2. If everything is correct, commit the changes, and that is commit. Rolling back a transactions. If something goes wrong during the transaction, you can use the rollback to undo the changes. So here, if an error occurs before the commit statements, the rollback ensures that no changes are applied to the database. In this example, a transaction begins with the start transaction. Two update statements are executed to the transfer money between two accounts. If the transaction is successful, commit is issued, making the changes permanent. So the transaction ACID is the atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So the concept of transaction in database defined by the ACID properties, which ensures that the database operations are processed reliably. So here are the background of the each component of ACID. So atomicity, all or nothing. So defines a transaction is treated as a single unit, meaning either all of its operations are executed or none are. For example, if a transaction involves transferring money from one account to another, both the debit from the account and the credit to the other must succeed. If one fails, the entire transaction is rolled back, ensuring no partial update. Second is the consistency, that is the valid state. Definition: a transaction takes the database from one valid state to another valid state. It ensures that the rules and constraints of the databases, such as foreign key checks, are always maintained. Example: if a rule says that balance in an account cannot be negative, a transaction that tries to withdraw more money than the available balance will fail, keeping the data consistent. Third is the isolation. This is the independent execution. So definition: transactions are executed in isolation, meaning that the operations of one transaction are not visible to other until the transaction is completed. So this ensures that transactions do not interfere with each other. So example, if two users try to transfer money from the same account simultaneously, isolation ensures that the final result is correct if they were processed one after the other, even if they were processed at the same time. Fourth is the durability, that is the permanent. Definition: once a transaction is committed, its changes are permanent even in the case of system crash or failure. The database ensures that the changes are returned to non-volatile storage, that is like a disk. Example, if a transaction to transfer money is committed and the system crashes afterward, the transaction's effect money transfer will still be preserved with the system recover. In summary, atomicity, everything happens or nothing happens. Consistency, data moves from one valid state to another. Isolation, transactions don't affect each other's operation. And durability, once a transaction is completed, its changes are permanent. They ask me Git. So Git is a tool used by developers to track changes in their code and work together with others. So it helps you save version of your project, go back to the previous version and manage code from the multiple people. So one liner, Git is like the time machine for your code that also helps team work together. So some commands in the Git init, start a new Git repository. Git clone copy a remote repository locally. Git status, checks current repo states. Git add dot stages all changes. Git commit -m message, save changes with the message. Git push, upload local commit to remote. Git pull, download changes from remote. Git branch, list all creates branches. Git checkout branch -name, switch to a different branch. And git merge branch -name, merge another branch into the current one. Now question number 19, namespace. So in PHP, a namespace is a way to group logically related classes, interfaces, functions and constants to avoid name collisions, especially in a large application or when integrating third-party libraries. Or in simple words, a namespace is like a folder for your code. It helps you avoid name conflicts when different parts of your project use the same class or function name. So example without namespace. So class test, public function show and echo hello. Now imagine another file also has a test class. It will cause an error. So namespace my project, class test, public function show, echo hello from my project. So now PHP knows the class is part of the my project group. So how to use it? So require test.php file with the namespace my project. Then use my project /test and then $object equal to new test and then object show. So why use it? To organize your code, to prevent the class function name conflicts and to work better with the autoloaders like the composer. Question number 20, they ask me SSO. So SSO is single sign-on. In PHP allows user to log in once and gain access to the multiple system or applications without needing to log in again for each one. Here is a basic overview and example of how to implement SSO in PHP. So SSO, single sign-on, means login once, access all connected applications without logging in again. So simple example for interview. Let's say you have two websites. oath.example.com handles login, app1.example.com your main application. How it works in simple steps. User visits app1.example.com. If not logged in, they are redirected to oath.example.com. User logs in, username plus password. A token is created and sent back to the app1.example.com. App1 uses this token to create a local session. So user is now logged into the app 1 without re-entering credentials. So the key points are: use PHP session to keep user logged in, use token, example base 64 or JWT, to pass login into between systems, and always use the HTTPS for security. So the sample code is on login server. So session starts if $post username equal to admin, and then $_post password equal to 123. So $token based 64 encode admin header location https app1.example.com/sso.php, and query string token equal to $token. On application server, session underscore start if $get token, $session user equal to base 64 underscore decode $get token, and header location dashboard.php. So show dashboard.php session underscore starts echo welcome $session user. So in short, SSO lets user log in once and use multiple system in PHP. It can be done using the session and tokens passed between apps. So this was the first round. So another round was the client round, and the client was the BCG, that is a Boston Consulting Group. So they asked me OCI. So OCI is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So OCI is Oracle's cloud platform that provides infrastructure services for running enterprise workloads. It offers a set of services including core features: compute, virtual machines, and bare metal server, storage, object, block and file storage, networking, virtual cloud networks, load balancer, and gateways, databases, autonomous database, Oracle Exadata and MySQL, HeatWave, etc. Container and Kubernetes. OCI Container Engine for Kubernetes. Monitoring and security, identify and access management, that is IAM, logging and monitoring tools, AI/ML service, DevOps tools and analytics. So use cases: hosting applications and websites, running Oracle's database with high availability, disaster recovery and backup. So migrating enterprise workload from on-prem to cloud. Or OCI, that is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is Oracle's cloud platform, just like the Amazon Web Services, AWS, on the Microsoft Azure or Microsoft Azure. So you can use OCI to run websites and apps, stores data, use powerful Oracle databases, create virtual machines and network. It's basically a place where companies can run their IT system online instead of using the physical servers. Second question, they ask me IIS. So IIS stands for the Internet Information Services. It is a web server created by Microsoft. It runs on the Windows server and used for the host websites, run web application like ASP.NET, serves HTML, CSS, JS, image, etc. to user, and supports HTTPS, FTP, and more. So for example, if you built a website and want people to access it online, you can use IIS or on a Windows server to make it live. So it's like Apache or Nginx, but made by Microsoft, and this is best for with Windows technologies. Okay. Question number 3, they ask me load balancer. So a load balancer is like a traffic controller for website or apps. What it does? It distributes incoming traffic like user visiting your sites across multiple servers so that no single servers get overloaded. The website stays fast and available. If one server goes down, another can still handle traffic. For example, you have 3 servers running your website. When 1000 users visit your website, without a load balancer, one server might crash from too much traffic. So with a load balancer, it split traffic between all 3 servers. Example, 333, 333 and 334 each. So the benefits are high availability, faster performance, handles more users, and fault tolerance. If one server fails, other take over. Some question they asked me the related to the server, which I don't remember right now. So this was the interview in company. This was the interview at a company called NeoSoft. Company location is Mumbai, and interview date was the May 19, 2025, and the client name was the Boston Consulting Group, BCG. So I will share more interview question with you. Till then, bye.